constellation of his sojourn. 7. The seventh and final bestowal. For tens of thousands of years we all looked forward to the seventh and final bestowal of Michael. Gabriel had taught us that this terminal bestowal would be made in the likeness of mortal flesh, but we were wholly ignorant of the time, place, and manner of this culminating adventure. The public announcement that Michael had selected Urantia as the theater for his final bestowal was made shortly after we learned about the default of Adam and Eve, and thus, for more than 35,000 years, your world occupied a very conspicuous place in the councils of the entire universe. There was no secrecy, aside from the incarnation mystery, connected with any step in the Urantia bestowal. From first to last, up to the final and triumphant return of Michael to Salvington as Supreme Universe Sovereign, there was the fullest universe publicity of all that transpired on your small but highly honored world. While we believed that this would be the method, we never knew until the time of the event itself that Michael would appear on Earth as a helpless infant of the realm. Theretofore, he had always appeared as a fully developed individual of the personality group of the bestowal selection, and it was a thrilling announcement which was broadcast from Salvington telling that the babe of Bethlehem had been born on Urantia. We then not only realized that our creator and friend was taking the most precarious step in all his career, apparently risking his position and authority on this bestowal as a helpless infant, but we also understood that his experience in this final and mortal bestowal would eternally enthrone him as the undisputed and supreme sovereign of the universe of Nebadon. For a third of a century of Earth time, all eyes in all parts of this local universe were focused on Urantia. All intelligences realized that the last bestowal was in progress, and as we had long known of the Lucifer rebellion in Satania, and of the Caligastia disaffection on Urantia, we well understood the intensity of the struggle which would ensue when our ruler condescended to incarnate on Urantia in the humble form and likeness of mortal flesh. Joshua ben Joseph, the Jewish baby, was conceived and was born into the world just as all other babies before and since, except that this particular baby was the incarnation of Michael of Nebadon, a divine son of paradise and the creator of all this local universe of things and beings. And this mystery of the incarnation of deity within the human form of Jesus, otherwise of natural origin on the world, will forever remain unsolved. Even in eternity you will never know the technique and method of the incarnation of the Creator in the form and likeness of his creatures. That is the secret of Senarrington, and such mysteries are the exclusive possession of those divine sons who have passed through the bestowal experience. Certain wise men of Earth knew of Michael's impending arrival. Through the contacts of one world with another, these wise men of spiritual insight learned of the forthcoming bestowal of Michael on Urantia, and the Seraphim did, through the Midway creatures, make announcement to a group of Chaldean priests whose leader was Ardnan. These men of God visited the newborn child. The only supernatural event associated with the birth of Jesus was this announcement to Ardnan and his associates by the Seraphim of former attachment to Adam and Eve in the first garden. Jesus' human parents were average people of their day and generation, and this incarnated Son of God was thus born of woman and was reared in the ordinary manner of the children of that race and age. The story of Michael's sojourn on Urantia, the narrative of the mortal bestowal of the Creator's Son on your world, is a matter beyond the scope and purpose of this narrative. 8. Michael's post-bestowal status. After Michael's final and successful bestowal on Urantia, he was not only accepted by the Ancients of Days as sovereign ruler of Nebadon, but he was also recognized by the Universal Father as the established director of the local universe of his own creation. Upon his return to Salvington, this Michael, the Son of Man and the Son of God, was proclaimed the settled ruler of Nebadon. From Uversa came the 8th proclamation of Michael's sovereignty, while from Paradise came the joint pronouncement of the Universal Father and the Eternal Son, constituting this union of God and man, sole head of the universe, and directing the Union of Days stationed on Salvington to signify his intention of withdrawing to Paradise. The faithfuls of Days on the Constellation headquarters were also instructed to retire from the councils of the Most Highs. But Michael would not consent to the withdrawal of the Trinity Sons of counsel and cooperation. He assembled them on Salvington, and personally requested them forever to remain on duty in Nebadon. They signified their desire to comply with this request to their directors on Paradise, and shortly thereafter there were issued those mandates of Paradise divorcement which forever attached these sons of the Central Universe to the court of Michael of Nebadon. It required almost 1 billion years of Urantia time to complete the bestowal career of Michael and to effect the final establishment of his supreme authority in the universe of his own creation. Michael was born a creator, educated an administrator, trained an executive, but he was required as the arena wherein Michael completed the experience which is required of every Paradise Creator son before he is given unlimited control and direction of the universe of his own making. As you ascend the local universe, you will learn more about the ideals of the personalities concerned in Michael's previous bestowals. In completing his creature bestowals, Michael was not only establishing his own sovereignty, but also was augmenting the evolving sovereignty of God the Supreme. In the course of these bestowals, the Creator's Son not only engaged in a descending exploration of the various natures of creature personality, but he also achieved the revelation of the variously diversified wills of the Paradise deities, whose synthetic unity, as revealed by the Supreme Creators, is revelatory of the will of the Supreme Being. These various will aspects of the deities are eternally personalized in the differing natures of the 7 Master Spirits, and each of Michael's bestowals was peculiarly revelatory of one of these divinity manifestations. On his Melchizedek bestowal, he manifested the united will of the Father, Son, and Spirit. On his Lananandek bestowal, the will of the Father and the Son. On the Adamic bestowal, he revealed the will of the Father and the Spirit. On the Seraphic bestowal, the will of the Son and the Spirit. On the Uversa mortal bestowal, he portrayed the will of the conjoint actor. On the Morantia mortal bestowal, the will of the Eternal Son. And on the Urantia material bestowal, he lived the will of the Universal Father, even as a mortal of flesh and blood. The completion of these 7 bestowals resulted in the liberation of Michael's supreme sovereignty, and also in the creation of the possibility for the sovereignty of the Supreme in Nebadon. On none of Michael's bestowals did he reveal God the Supreme, but the sum total of all 7 bestowals is a new Nebadon revelation of the Supreme Being. In the experience of descending from God to man, Michael was concomitantly experiencing the ascent from partiality of manifestability to supremacy of finite action and finality of the liberation of his potential for absonite function. Michael, a creator son, is a time-space creator, but Michael, a 7-fold master son, is a member of one of the divine core constituting the Trinity Ultimate. In passing through the experience of revealing the 7 master spirit wills of the Trinity, the Creator Son has passed through the experience of revealing the will of the Supreme. In functioning as a revelator of the will of supremacy, Michael, together with all other Master Sons, has identified himself eternally with the Supreme. In this universe age, he reveals the Supreme and participates in the actualization of the sovereignty of supremacy. But in the next universe age, we believe he will be collaborating with the Supreme Being in the first experiential Trinity, for and in the universes of outer space. Urantia is the sentimental shrine of all Nebadon, the chief of 10 million inhabited worlds, the mortal home of Christ Michael, sovereign of all Nebadon, a Melchizedek minister to the realms, a system savior, an Adamic redeemer, a seraphic fellow, an associate of ascending spirits, a Morantia progressor, a son of man in the likeness of mortal flesh, and the planetary prince of Urantia. And your record tells the truth when it says that this same Jesus has promised some time to return to the world of his terminal bestowal, the world of the cross. This paper, depicting the 7 bestowals of Christ Michael, is the 63rd of a series of presentations, sponsored by numerous personalities, narrating the history of Urantia down to the time of Michael's appearance on earth in the likeness of mortal flesh. These papers were authorized by a Nebadon Commission of 12, acting under the direction of Mantusha Melchizedek. We indited these narratives and put them in the English language by a technique authorized by our superiors in the year AD 1935 of Urantia time.